Most professionals believe they have a focus problem. They don't. What they have is an untrained attention system operating in an environment designed to fragment it. On center beam, while edges blur into soft gray gradient. Medium shot. High contrast lighting with deep blue and charcoal tones. Clean, executive mood. The average knowledge worker switches tasks every 3 minutes. They call this multitasking. The brain calls it cognitive thrashing, the mental equivalent of running a computer with too many programs open at once. And here's the hidden cost. It's not just the interruption that destroys productivity, it's the recovery time. 15 to 23 minutes on average to return to the same depth of focus after a single distraction. That means if you're interrupted 4 times in an hour, you've spent the entire hour in a state of partial attention. You've been busy, you've been responsive, but you haven't been productive. Focus mastery is not about willpower, it's about architecture. Focus is not a personality trait, it's a cognitive system. And like any system, it operates according to specific rules. Most people never learn these rules. They treat focus like inspiration, something that either shows up or doesn't. The problem intelligent professionals face is not a lack of focus, it's the absence of a trained attention system. Here's what that looks like in practice. You sit down to work on something important. Within minutes, your brain begins generating secondary tasks. Check email, verify a detail, answer a message. Each task feels legitimate. Each one fragments your cognitive load. This isn't procrastination. It's your brain operating in reactive mode instead of executive mode. Reactive mode is fast, responsive, and shallow. Executive mode is slow, deliberate, and deep. Most professionals spend 90% of their work time in reactive mode. They mistake motion for progress, activity for output. The financial cost is measurable. If your income depends on the quality of your thinking, strategy, analysis, design, writing, then fragmented attention directly reduces your earning capacity. A consultant who bills hourly but produces shallow work due to fragmented focus earns less per unit of time than one who produces deep work in half the time. An entrepreneur who cannot sustain focus on high leverage decisions will always work harder than necessary for mediocre results. Focus is not optional, it's the primary lever for professional performance. The brain's attention system operates on two competing networks, the task positive network and the default mode network. The task positive network activates when you're focused on external goals. The default mode network activates when your mind wanders, plans, or reflects. Here's the problem. These networks are inversely correlated. When one is active, the other suppresses. Your brain cannot be in deep focus and mind wandering simultaneously. But here's what most people don't understand. The default mode network is not the enemy. It's essential for insight, creativity, and long-term planning. The issue is involuntary switching. Every time you switch from focused work to checking a notification, you're forcing a network transition. And every transition has a cognitive cost. Research from the University of California, Irvine found that it takes an average of 23 minutes to return to a task after an interruption. But the interruption itself only takes seconds. The problem is not the distraction, it's the cognitive residue. When you shift attention from task A to task B, your brain doesn't fully disengage from task A. Part of your working memory remains allocated to the previous task. This is called attention residue, and it reduces the quality of your thinking on task B. This is why multitasking feels productive but produces mediocre results. You're never giving full cognitive resources to any single task. Focus mastery is the ability to eliminate attention residue, and sustain full cognitive allocation on one task at a time. Training focus is not about discipline. It's about designing a cognitive environment and building neural pathways that support sustained attention. This is the Focus Architecture Framework, a 4-layer system that moves focus from reactive to executive mode. Layer 1: Environmental Control. Your environment is your first line of defense. The human brain is wired to respond to environmental cues. A phone on your desk is not neutral, it's a cognitive trigger. Even if it's silent, its presence creates a low level monitoring process in your brain. A background task checking whether something might need attention. Remove the trigger, remove the monitoring cost. Environmental control rules. Rule 1: single context workspace. One screen, one task. No secondary devices in visual range. Rule 2: predictable distraction windows. If you need to check messages, schedule it. 10 minutes every 2 hours. Your brain adapts to predictability. It resists uncertainty. Rule 3: physical boundary cues. Noise canceling headphones, closed door, do not disturb signals. These are not just for others, they're cognitive anchors for your own brain. Layer 2: cognitive preloading. Before you begin work, your brain needs to know what done looks like. Most people start work with vague intentions: work on the report, make progress on the project. The brain interprets vague goals as low priority. It allocates minimal resources. Cognitive preloading is the process of defining your task with precision before you begin. Step 1: define one specific output. Not work on strategy deck. Instead, draft slide 3, competitive positioning matrix, 4 key competitors. Step 2: estimate cognitive load. How complex is this task? Does it require research, creation, or refinement? Match your energy level to task difficulty. Step 3: eliminate decision points. Decide in advance. No research rabbit holes, no stylistic edits, no peripheral improvements. Execution only. When your brain knows exactly what it's building, it can allocate full attention to construction instead of wasting resources on navigation. Layer 3, attention endurance training focus, is a trainable capacity, but most people never train it. They expect to sit down and work for 3 hours straight without preparation. That's like expecting to run a marathon without training. Attention endurance follows the same principles as physical endurance: progressive overload and recovery. Progressive focus protocol. Week 1: work in 25-minute blocks. Full focus, single task, no exceptions. Rest 5 minutes between blocks. Week 2: extend to 35-minute blocks. Maintain intensity. Rest 7 minutes. Week 3: move to 50-minute blocks. Rest 10 minutes. Week 4: attempt 90-minute blocks. This is deep work territory. The key is intensity, not duration. 25 minutes of complete focus builds more neural capacity than 2 hours of fragmented attention. Most professionals skip this step. They try to force long focus sessions through willpower. Willpower depletes. Trained capacity compounds. Layer 4: recovery protocols. High performers don't just work harder, they recover smarter. Your brain's attentional resources are finite. After sustained focus, cognitive performance declines. This is not failure, this is biology. Recovery Rule 1: no shallow work during rest. Checking email is not rest. Scrolling is not rest. Rest means no information input. Recovery Rule 2. Movement resets attention. A 5-minute walk restores cognitive resources more effectively than sitting still. Recovery Rule 3. Strategic context switching. If you must switch tasks, switch to a completely different cognitive mode. Analytical work to physical work. Verbal work to visual work. This minimizes attention residue. The professionals who sustain high performance don't work longer. They alternate between intensity and recovery with precision. Focus mastery is not an abstract skill, it's a financial multiplier. Here's how this works in practice. Scenario 1. The consultant. Two consultants bill the same hourly rate. Consultant A works in fragmented 90-minute sessions, responding to messages, switching between client projects, producing surface-level analysis. Consultant B works in structured 50-minute deep focus blocks, completes high-quality strategic analysis in half the time, and delivers insights that command premium rates. Both work 8-hour days. Consultant A produces mediocre output across multiple projects. Consultant B produces exceptional output and has capacity to take on higher value clients. Over 1 year, the difference compounds. Consultant B earns 30 to 40% more for the same time investment, not because they work harder, because they focus better. Scenario 2. The founder. A founder spends 6 hours per day working. Emails, Slack messages, surface level product decisions, reactive firefighting. After implementing focus architecture, they compress reactive work into 2 scheduled 90-minute blocks. The remaining time, deep strategic work, product roadmap, competitive positioning, financial modeling. Within 3 months, the business shifts. Decisions improve. Execution accelerates. Revenue follows. The difference is not effort, it's cognitive allocation. When your income depends on decision quality, focus is the primary variable. The math. If you work 50 hours per week, but spend 40 hours in fragmented attention, you're producing the equivalent of 10 hours of deep work. If you restructure to 20 hours of deep work and 30 hours of structured shallow work, you double your effective output without increasing total hours. For knowledge workers, this directly translates to income, better analysis, faster execution, higher value deliverables. Focus mastery is not a productivity hack. It's the architecture of professional leverage. Focus is not a gift. It's not a personality trait. It's a trained system. The professionals who produce exceptional work in less time are not more talented. They've built cognitive environments and neural pathways that support sustained attention. The framework is simple. Control your environment, preload your cognition, train your endurance, recover strategically. The execution is harder. Because it requires you to reject the performance theater of constant availability and reactive responsiveness. But the return is measurable. Better work, faster execution, higher income. Thinking quality determines performance. Performance determines outcomes. Once you see how focus operates as a system rather than a talent, it's difficult to return to reactive work. Which part of your work requires the most focus, but gets the least? Most professionals know exactly where their fragmented attention costs them the most. Strategy, analysis, complex problem solving, the work that actually moves outcomes. This channel studies how thinking shapes performance and decisions. You're welcome to subscribe if this is the kind of work you value. Next, we'll examine decision velocity, why intelligent people hesitate, and how cognitive architecture accelerates execution without sacrificing quality. Until next time, observe your mind, refine your decisions.